In this video, I will show you how the human resources are computed. We already saw how the rooms, the specifications for each room are stored and computed according to the selection. I will show you a similar process for the human resource. So as you remember, first we have a user form that is showing up, showing us the labor and schedule parameter. In Pass, there is a sheet 235 where you have this big table where it's divided in three parts. You have the default data. It's reporting the code that correspond to the number of days per week that the specific department is supposed to run by default. You have the hours per shift in the morning, afternoon, and night shift. So you have the default codes that corresponds to a real number of describing the hours, and the repartition of the staff. Therefore, the percentage of staff that is allocated in the three possible shifts. These codes again refer to actual number that are reported here in the working and labor parameters family, and you see here exactly the same principle as before. You have this table, and for example, shift working hours, you have the codes that correspond to a specific value. For the schedule of service, therefore the number of weeks, the number of days per week, you have only two options here, 2 and 7, and you have therefore to insert one of two in the table that we just saw, and that would correspond to 7 or 5. Let's go back to, sorry, I never, well, so in this table, in the yellow cell, again the default value should be stored. In this second sector of the table is the place where the data inserted in the user form by the user are stored. So, for example, if you remember, we decided that we wanted our tree department working 6 days per week, and you see the 6 is stored here, here, and here. And finally, there is this last block of the table where through formulas, regular Excel formulas, those, for example, the real numbers are extracted from the code. So here you have the days per week, etc., etc. Once again, Pass is computing all the factors for all the services, and only after is selecting the one that you are interested to. Here you have with the same principle, but in column instead than in row, you have the labor data for leaves, national holidays, and sickness. Here the default, here the user choices, and finally the real data. I want to show you is this one. This is a big and complicated table, because here you see the 24, because one is left empty, 24 possible positions that are shown in the human resource user form, and in particular in the first tab where you see the positions that are allocated to a specific department. So what you have here is that these positions have been listed here, and they have some kind of codes, and this is I mean it's this, there is a first an attribution to medical and non-medical staff, then there is the attribution to the department of the facility. So if you write department, Pass will look at the number of beds in the department. If you write facility here, Pass will look at the facility, at the number of beds in the facility. We already saw that some positions, for example, the pharmacy, the laboratory, are meaningful in terms of provision of services for the whole facility and not for the department itself. But the person is allocated to the specific department. Then we have the nurse. There is this code that the categories provided by Sarah, the WHO methodology. Our category, the position here are slightly different because this is the name that we traditionally use in the house. This name can be changed without affecting any further any procedure. These category groups are telling Pass. It's very important to write the right name here. You see here the description, so I invite you to read. But basically, you already know that Pass use those small tables in the fourth step of the second part of Pass to read the default value. So for the human resource, these are the titles of the tables where the ratio of bed per position are stored. So MD, for example, is the name of the table where the ratio bed per staff member are stored. So you see that in this table you have only medical doctors that, according to the position, they have a different ratio. So if you want to use one of these ratios, you have to refer to one of these codes. So for example, you can see that for every department there is a column, and you see that for inpatient, for example, there is a code 1 to the position MD generalist. That means that this is the code for the ratio describing how many generalist MD you want in the inpatient department. And just have a look, it's 1 every 40 bed. This table works like this. You see you have the usual department plus already the slot for extra 5 departments that can be added, and what has to be done here is to, now there is already this it's already compiled, but of course you can change it. So for every position you have to write the entire row assigning the ratio and to the position in the department. If you write 0, then Pass knows that that position is not supposed to be present in the specific department. For the position associated to the facility, you have only one column here, and it works exactly in the with the same principle. You will have to refer to other tables in page in the fourth page of the second part of Pass, where you will find the ratio for this position. Let's say, for example, MD FAC, which FAC stands for facility. and voila, it's this table here. You have only two codes, 1 and 2, and actually they are both 500, representing the number of bed for every medical director. These two positions in particular, we basically want to be sure that there is only one medical director and only one nurse director, so that's why the ratio is so high. Voila, so this is the table where the default value are stored. This is a very similar table. You see that actually all these cells are just copy from the previous one, and in these cells, Pass stores the user inputs. So if you decide, for example, that you want a different ratio or you want to exclude a position, you remember that we did that for certain in certain cases. Pass will store the information provided by the user here, and as you can see here, it's all white cell. Therefore, there is no activity. It's not allowed to change anything. In this third table, once again, it has the very same layout, but here Pass is actually computing the stuff, so it's transforming the codes into actual number, and it's performing all the operation. You see here that they are all formulas, so please don't change them, and it's computing the total in this column. See, there is a sum, in horizontal sum, so it's looking in all the department and telling you, look, I need such number for Nurse Pro, for example. This is number 2. One last thing about these pages that you see here, there is salary scale. For each position, there is a salary scale level that is attached to each position. It's once again it's a default value that has to be inserted by the user, and once again you find the value here in this page, and it's the last family. Voila, you see here what are the code corresponding to the level of the salary scale. Okay, I think this is it.